Hello, Hari Om to all of you again. In our earlier session on psychological issues or psychological problems, we have discussed the outline, the base, background, introductory aspect of mental disorder means exactly what. We have also discussed the role of APA, American Psychological Association and American Psychiatric Association. Then we discuss about DSM, that is Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. After that we discuss the criteria of normal behavior means exactly what, and how can we say that XYZ person's behavior is abnormal behavior. So 4 to 5 important features of that we have discussed, and then we have discussed some of the key psychological disorders, in that intellectual disability, then ADHD, anxiety disorder. Need of the hour to discuss is about so depression also we have discussed, and now we are going to discuss some other psychological issues or problems. First one for this is about OCD. Yes, a very familiar term, obsessive compulsive disorder, and its other aspects or the variations. As we all know about OCDs means constant repetitive movements or actions. It can be constant and frequent hand washing, checking, counting, or to be specified, they need each and everything in perfect manner, in perfect order. So that's why it is called as obsession. So the way the DSM-5 they have defined obsession means what? Means recurrent and persistent thoughts, urges, images which are experienced as intrusive and unwanted, but still they are there. So the person doesn't want to think about that, but still he keep on thinking only on the same object which he wanted to avoid. So it is called as obsession. Another side of the coin is compulsion. Repetitive behaviors or mental acts that an individual feels driven to perform in response to an obsession or according to rules that must be applied rigidly. So in short, it is like the person is anxious regarding a particular situation, object, event, person, or anything, and to avoid that particular stressful thoughts, images, urges, he just divert himself and he engage himself in some repetitive behaviors. One of the important thing about OCD people is they have, most of the time they are aware that they are thinking and doing some unnecessary activities. Now let me tell you some a real case study. So when I was doing masters in psychology with Gandhar sir, so at that time a patient came to that particular psychiatric ward, and that lady, so she said, and even it was easy to observe the way her hands were there. She used to spend 9 hours a day in a bathroom. 9 hours a day in a bathroom. It is not an exaggeration or so, but yes, it is a fact. So what exactly she used to do? That she had compulsions that her body, the floor, the tub, the bucket, or everything must be clean at least 3 times perfectly, before the bath and even after the bath. So she used to engage herself in some repetitive behaviors and mental acts in response to an obsession. So the features, the characteristics of OCD people in clinical presentations as per some research findings. First one is anxiety is the affective symptom. Anxiety is the key factor. So they are anxious, and to avoid or to skip that particular anxious thoughts, they driven themselves, they engage themselves in some other actions. Compulsions usually reduce the anxiety to some degree, at least short time, so they get a relief out of it. And most people who are affected with OCD, they have fear that something terrible will happen to themselves or others for which they will be responsible. So if you observe this point, or if you read it again, OCD people, anxious people, they may have some superstitious thinking, belief, or they have some unrealistic thinking pattern. So that means if they have some compulsions that I must clean my hands 3 times, or otherwise if I wash or if I clean my hand only once, something terrible will happen. So to avoid that particular anticipatory negative events, they again engage and they again repeat the same acts again and again and again. Another thing is, of course, these two are well-known Indian actresses, but only for the reference purpose here I am discussing this. They are quite normal. Okay, these two actresses are quite normal, but if you observe, see earlier the way her physical structure or the appearance, especially facial, so this nose, and after plastic surgery, how it was different. Even same thing with this also. Her name is Shilpa Shetty, and she's Priyanka Chopra. If the purpose is, say for example, having a marketing or as a part of acting or so or anything, it is absolutely different, absolutely normal. Okay, fine. But what happens with other people? It is called as dissatisfaction of appearance or dissatisfaction of body. It is called as body dysmorphic disorder. In DSM-4 and DSM-4-TR version or edition, all these disorders were rated separately, but in the current 5th edition, body dysmorphic disorder, they have added under anxiety disorder. The criteria as per DSM is preoccupation with one or more perceived defects. So in real they don't have any perceived effects, but any defects, but they perceive some flaws are there in the in physical appearance which are not observable or appear slight to others. At some point during the course of the disorder, the individual has performed, remember 2 points, first one is repetitive behaviors and another one is mental acts. So repetitive behaviors like again mirror checking, excessive grooming, skin peeking, reassurance seeking, etc. Or mental acts like comparing their appearance with others. However, the frequency, duration and intensity of dissatisfaction of their bodily appearance or the perceived defects, it causes clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational and other important areas of functioning. So remember the criteria which we have discussed. The behavior which affects the functioning can be termed as abnormal behavior. In more detail, to discuss, these people or these patients are quite worried that there is something wrong with the shape or appearance. So the term was their perceived defects, not real, but they perceive it. So the thinking pattern is also getting disturbed or affected in abnormal behavior, in short, like about breast, genital, hair or so. They frequently request medical procedures or plastic surgery to correct their imagined defects. Patients are often dissatisfied with the results because in real no flaw is there, but they perceive it. All the time they seek reassurance and they try to hide their perceived deformities with clothing or body hair, or to avoid social situations or so. So some even become housebound. Um, Around 10-12 years back, another patient, at that time the girl was around hardly 26-year-old also. At that time she went to Singapore. So from India she went to Singapore and spent around 4 lakhs rupees in her plastic surgery. Again, no flaw was there, but she had a strong tendency to perceive that her physical appearance, especially facial appearance, it is not appropriate. So at that time she asked, and she have done some around 3 to 4 plastic surgery. The behavior which is harmful for self, also termed as abnormal behavior. The preoccupation, it causes clinically important distress, or even at times it leads to depression, suicidal attempts or ideas as well. The preoccupation with certain aspects of body, compulsive checking, all these are the very hallmark of the disorder. In severe cases, they may become so isolated that they lock up themselves in their house and never go out even to work. So the comorbidity or correlation has been found in depression and body dysmorphic disorder. Phillips in 2005, he has conducted study on body dysmorphic people, and all these are the characteristics which he has found. 73 people have some perceived defects about skin. Even 56% people have perceived defects about hair, and so on. Important is, these are not the ordinary concerns, they are far more extreme. The frequency, duration, intensity, it is quite high, leading in many cases to complete preoccupation and significant emotional pain. Another aspect of OCD only, we can easily see the difference between before and after. It is quite clumsy, extreme mess is there and everything, and this, it is quite neat and tidy, very disciplined and maintained room. Same thing is there. So it is called as hoarding disorder, to hold something, that too unnecessarily, irrespective of its use. Persistent difficulty in discarding or parting with possessions, regardless of their actual value. The difficulty is due to a perceived need to save the items and to distress associated with discarding them. These people have, important point is, they have the difficulty in discarding possessions. So irrespective of the use or value of that object, some people have strong tendency to just go on collecting the items like anything, and that too they are unable to plan or organize appropriately. So everything, it results in the accumulation of possessions that block and miss active living areas, substantially compromises their intended use. If living areas are uncluttered, it is only because of the interventions of third parties. This is the important point which DSM-5 has mentioned. And again, the role of severity, affection, affecting part and everything, similar to other disorders as well. The motivations behind hoarding, it can be varied because individual differences are there. Some kind of attachment, involvement, obsession it can be their anxiety in discarding, it can be there, or some kind of a memory attachment, some kind of psychological interest have been observed. So some people believe that their things are valuable, but in real they are not. One social consequence of hoarding is that children dread having visitors to the home, and they don't learn the basics of housekeeping. So how one particular disorder it affects the child rearing, and even uh, other techniques or other important practices also. In some Western countries nowadays there are online support groups are there for holders children who are otherwise left with their own hopeless attempts at coping with the unsanitary, unsightly and the unsafe. If you observe in another variation of OCD, there is significant hair loss, but this hair loss, it is not natural. Yes, eyelids, and it is about skull. If it is not natural, then if we ask such people that why you are so obsessed, or what makes you tempted to pull your hair, so they may say, or in some studies, in some interviews, the way these people have reported, like, I don't know, so why I do it, I just do it. I get to feeling sort of uptight, and if I just pop one little strand loose, somehow it relieves the tension. Another may say, now it's a habit. He has also said, I have always only pulled the hair from the very top of my head. So even they are unknowingly able to decide the spot also. And last most important is, now that I want to stop, but the person says I can't. Another again important criteria of abnormality, the behavior which is not under our own control can be termed as abnormal behavior. I know the right but I follow the wrong. I want to control but I can't control. I want to stop but I can't stop. It is called as, in technical term, trichotillomania, hair pulling disorder. Means recurrent pulling out of one's hair which results in hair loss. Repeated attempts are there to decrease or stop their pulling. The hair pulling, it causes clinically significant distress or impairment. So you can imagine repeated attempts to decrease or stop hair pulling, but every time they fail. They may make some kind of resolution that now onwards I am not going to pull my hair, but the temptation, it can't resist them. So these people feel mounting tensions until they succumb to the urge. They have so temptation, the strong temptation is there to pull the hair, and when they pull out the hair, they experience release. It works, so hair pulling for them, it works like a reinforcer. If they are getting tense, once they pull their hair, so then only they get sort of relief. Hair pullers repeatedly extract their own hair from birds, beards, eyebrows or eyelashes. So less often they will pull hair from armpits, pubic area or other body locations. So see how weird it is. They usually don't report pain associated with the hair pulling, but they may note a tingling sensation. Some people put the hair, it is I can understand, but yes, it is very ugly to imagine also. Some people put the hair into their mouths, and about 30%, we can't believe, but they are, so it is called as abnormal. They swallow it, they chew it. If the hair is long, it can accumulate in stomach, and so intest intestines they may require surgical removal. The behavior which is harmful for self, also called as abnormal behavior. In some studies, it has been found that the onset of trichotillomania or hair pulling, it has been since childhood or from adolescence. The feeling of tension before hair pulling and release or relief of stress afterwards still characterizes many sufferers. But patients who have the tension and release, a release aspect of hair pulling, may be in for a more severe course of the illness than those who don't report this feature. Another addition and variation of OCD, it is called as skin picking disorder. So see this, 6 weeks ago, if you observe the minute aspect, yes, excoriation means skin picking disorder, recurrent skin picking which results in skin lesions, repeated attempts to decrease or stop skin picking. Again, like hair pulling, they try, so they are aware that they are doing some such kind of repetitive acts which they should not do, so they try or they attempt to stop or to decrease, but it won't help. The skin picking disorder or excoriation, it causes clinically significant distress or impairment. We can imagine such kind of people who are who are having some social oriented jobs. So imagine a cook having such kind of issues. So very ugly. But again, the main point is the extent to which it affects the day-to-day functioning. It is also important. Onset from adolescence. These patients, they spend much time, perhaps hours each day, in digging at their skin. They will focus on the head, face, fingernails, and instruments of choice. Through some people, though some people employ tweezers as well. The extremities, the intensity, it matters a lot again. Tension prior to the act is a frequent finding in these patients. So tension and skin picking, tension and hair pulling, it works like stimulus is there and some kind of, so action to reaction. Either hair pulling or skin picking, both these works as a reinforcer, as a supported factor. Infections are also common, of course, and these patients may use cosmetics to conceal the scarring and excoriations. Some will avoid social events. So automatically their one uncontrollable desires, it leads to their physical and social affected lives. Another category of psychological disorder is dissociative. The name itself speaks a lot. Disassociative. No association or lack of association, connection with the consciousness, memory, or both. So the word is there, break in conscious. In that, three types are there: dissociative amnesia, dissociative fugue, and third one is dissociative identity disorder. However, first two, amnesia and fugue, they are related with break or gap in memory. So dissociative amnesic people, they have some a memory lapse. They may forget a week or a month or anything all of a sudden. And dissociative identity disorder, to be specifically or to discuss it very shortly, Sydney Sheldon, she has written a novel about on Tell Me About Your Dreams. The novel, it truly depicts or reflects the part of dissociative identity disorder. Earlier it was called as multiple identity disorder or multiple personality disorder. Another category is about somatic symptoms. So soma means body, somatoform disorder, psychosomatic disorder, all the different terms but having or carrying the same meaning. The belief that one is physically ill with no physical alignment. So the person may have only a symptom of cough or so, but they may perceive exaggerately that they are having COVID-19 or so. Or if only for a week, for a day or so, if the person is having some symptoms like cough or so, but they perceive that they are having some throat cancer or so. So that exaggeration, it is there. Somatoform, psychosomatic issues are there. Second last category to discuss is about, okay, yes, so to start with, can we observe some kind of these feature symptoms either with self or with others? Have you observed the dramatic weight loss in a relatively short period of time, obsession with calories and fat content of food, hiding food in strange places or so, hair loss, pale appearance to the skin or so, frequent trips to the bathroom following meals, obsession with continuous exercise, wearing baggy clothes for what? To hide body shape or weight loss, and reading books about weight loss and eating disorders. Yes, it is about eating disorder. Inappropriate or abnormal eating habits, it leads to eating disorder. Of course, I am not going to discuss in detail about yoga and all, but you can discuss, you may have a thought that how far yogic aspects, asanas, are applicable to all this psychological disorder, because this is the reason or the main purpose that why we are discussing psychological disorders under this particular course. So psychological illness of means abnormal eating patterns. In that again, two aspects are there: anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa. Anorexia nervosa means distorted perception of body shape and size, intense fear of gaining weight even though they are underweight. So it's all about inappropriate perception. Normal people have appropriate perception of the reality. Bulimia nervosa, also called as binge eating. So normal people, they will take around 20 to 30 minutes to finish their normal meal. But these people who are having bulimia nervosa, with the same type and same content of food, they will eat haphazardly within 10 minutes, and after that they will again have some dramatic perception or so. Oh my god, I have eaten so much, now it's time to remove. Another aspect can be if we offer them even a piece of cake. First they will refuse it, and even if we force, so they will make 10 small pieces of that particular single piece of cake, and then they will eat. After that, the way they will report like, oh my god, I have ate 10 pieces of cake, it's so much calorie consumption. Now self-induced vomiting, excessive exercise, use of laxatives or so, these are some abnormal ways they choose. Etiology or causes, reasons behind having eating disorder, it's socio-cultural factors. to what extent the society supports that you have to be very slim and trim, you must maintain, you must work on your diet and weight gain or weight loss also. Even media influence, it matters a lot. In some studies it has been also found that the family influence also matters, like genetic, environmental aspects, and the way parents force body dissatisfaction and excessive unnecessary use of dieting. It also leads to anorexia and bulimia. Depression and eating, it goes hand in hand. So the treatment is, if it is excessive in nature, some kind of drug, in the sense medications are important, and psychosocial treatments like cognitive therapy, behavior therapy, and all. Anorexia, recently we have discussed, they refuse to maintain minimally normal weight, intensely fear of gaining weight, and significantly misinterpret their body and its shape. Anorexia nervosa has been found more common in females as compared to male. And the last to discuss is about sleep disorder. Generally, yoga nidra and all, everything we can easily correlate. So sleep disorder, generally normal people, they require at least 6 to 7 or 7 to 8 hours of sleep. But if this duration and even the quality of sleep is going affected by week to week or through months altogether, then it can be termed as sleep disorder. Insomnia means inability to fall asleep. So lack of sleep is what is insomnia, and hypersomnia means excessive sleep. Insomnia, hypersomnia. Narcolepsy, genetic disorder which cause collapse into REM. So REM, it stands for rapid eye movement. You can easily search on net. So rapid eye movements, how exactly it works. Even if we sleep, our eyes keep on moving inside it. It's just like a tennis match, from this end to that end. It is called as rapid eye movement sleep. Somnambulism, some people have some very interesting habits like sitting, walking, performing complex behaviors while they are asleep. So nightmare, night terror, sleep apnea, their breathing stops for about a minute or so, and power nocturnes. So like this we have discussed in 2 sessions many, of course not all, but many important psychological disorders which we can easily observe with others, which we can to some extent at times we can easily observe, discuss with others as well. And now in our 3rd and 4th session we are going to discuss about psychological treatment, in the sense psychotherapy, role of counseling and psychotherapy. So what is the difference between the two, and to be specifically we are going to discuss in detail about CBT and REBT, rational emotive behavior therapy. If you have anything to discuss, to ask, it is my WhatsApp number, so 9890614667, and this is my email ID. Feel free to discuss, to ask anything. TLJOSHI13@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Hari Om.